So I'm doing a research paper on dream analysis for a psychology class. Let's get to the drive. So the first thing I do basically is just get my header done. Times New Roman if I can find it. And 12. Jane Doe is not my actual name, but it is for this time. Psych class. And then I would put the date there. So the first thing I would do is basically go to the school's website, to the library. Click on the link, go to libraries. Now for this, I need at least 5 peer-reviewed journals. So in order to find these journals, I will click on article database, full text because I want the whole thing, and peer-reviewed. Since I'm doing dream analysis, I want to try to find things that are related to the definition of that, who sort of came up with the idea of dream analysis, and basically any research showing its effectiveness and if it's still being used today. So dream analysis, if I could spell, since I can't spell today, dream analysis, and I would search it. So once I find all these, I basically just scroll through and see which headers catch my eye, see this one looks good, the functional analysis of dreams. So this basically, from what I can see, is what good dream analysis does. And then I would read through the abstract. So it basically says how it presents a relatively new theoretical approach to dreams. So I would probably go to PDF full text to get a better look at what exactly this is about. And even though the teacher said that try to get something that is no more than 3 or 4 years old, doesn't necessarily mean this has bad information. So I would basically just look through here, see if anything catches my eye, just try to find a base for how I begin the paper. So what are the characteristics? Has evolved. So this could be used in part of my paper or my project that has to do with the origins of how dream analysis, if I could spell again, analysis has changed over the years, or how it has evolved to what it is today. Then we could go back, and because I know from past experience that Sigmund Freud, a medical doctor from the early 1700s, because I know that he was a very big presence in this field. Then I could look up Sigmund Freud, or Freud, which is already an option, so I would just click that, and then I would basically just scroll through and see what kind of options I've gotten. So here, door stream, door left. So what I'm gathering from here, there's really not too much here, so what I would probably do if I didn't have much, if I didn't get many options, I would just add to the search Sigmund Freud and go from there. And right here I'm basically seeing that Dora might have been one of his test subjects. So if I were to go to this site and basically see that I'm not really getting much after a couple searches, then most likely I would go to Google Scholar, which is a website that I learned about in my English class, in one of my English classes a few semesters ago. So I basically click on that, and I would say basically the same thing, dream analysis, if I could spell, dream analysis, and see what they would come up with so the handbook of dream analysis, which is pretty much exactly what I want. So if that doesn't see anything, so also one thing that I do notice a lot when I'm doing research is if I'm consistently looking up this, like 1-2 keywords such as dream analysis, what I've noticed basically for the past 2 minutes is that I've noticed psychoanalysis is a word that pretty much goes hand in hand with dream analysis. So I would probably click on that because there's something that psychoanalysis might be telling us that dream analysis is not. So what I would do here is see what this has to offer. So already you're seeing that stay still. So I cannot control this thing. First person. So because when I was researching dream analysis the first time on the library database, now when I come into this book, it's showing me a different person, another scientist that is associated with dream analysis, which is Ella Sharp. So it's basically saying that she was the first person that pretty much noticed dream work and the language of it. Let's see here, if we scroll down a little more. And then when you come down further, it says Sigmund Freud. He says it has like a little background about who was left to speak that if a man is already, it basically says that Freud thought more about dreams, and he's basically comparing animals and man, and this is basically just comparing Ella Sharp's research to Sigmund Freud's research. So this first chapter, a dream as a developed visual. Okay. So the thing about Google Scholar that I've noticed during my past times researching is that they'll highlight the two, like one of two keywords that you have. So since my one keyword was dream, they decided to go through the entire book, which was very nice of them. They decided to go through this book and basically just highlight dream. And then maybe if we go further, they would highlight analysis, which I think I just skipped one. Yep. They'd highlight dream and they highlight analysis, and this also, and here's one here too. And this is actually really good because it basically gives you a nice sort of, it gives you a nice overview of how many times they actually use it. So one thing that I do look for is, so basically the origins of dream analysis, how it was developed, and who pioneered the idea, or the method of using this kind of research. So probably the two names that I would mention in this paper is Sigmund Freud and Ella Sharp, because within those two websites that I mentioned, the library database, online database, and Google Scholar, they both mentioned both Sigmund Freud and Ella Sharp. So I basically do that, and then I would say how their research impacted science today, and basically just try to find out if anything that they've discovered through their studies and their research, basically, how that's affected science to this day, and how are we able to utilize stream analysis for other basically ailments or anything, because Sigmund Freud originally, which this is not common knowledge, I actually learned, I don't remember where I found this information, but I know it was on the school's library database, but he basically thought it was a good cure to find out why people react to the way they do, to things the way they do. And I would also try to find out what probably the most obvious question is, what the function of dream analysis is, and how can this help people. And something else I was working on when I was doing this is, even though it does sound pretty amazing being able to analyze people's dreams to find out if there's a root cause for an issue they're having in their life, what are the boundaries of sleep analysis? And that's basically this sort of brings it back down to, yes, there are good and bad things. There are good things about sleep analysis, but also, or dream analysis, I should say. There are good things about dream analysis, but what's the extent to it? Where does it abandon science and go to philosophy or more spiritual or religious type aspects? So that's basically, I basically just repeat that continuously, and then my sources, I do use EasyBib because I was taught how to do the sources, but I still don't. That was kind of a long time ago. And I always want to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. So I basically just I use EasyBib for that, and I always make sure that I, keep my tabs open so that if I do need to go back, then I can. And that's it.